Welcome to Breakthrough the Ordinary podcast.
We are committed to empowering and bringing you effective tools and wisdom to live your extraordinary life here and now through impactful conversations with thought leaders, trainers, coaches, and healers. By trusting yourself, you can generate your goals and desires. Your hosts are sibling duo, Marc and Claudine Chiarmonte.
So I want to welcome our guest tonight, Hanna Dylan. She is a Feminine Embodiment Coach and Tantra Practitioner. She's been facilitating yoga and movement classes for over 6 years and been coaching both men and women privately for the past 2 years. She supports, I love her, she's amazing, but she supports women by helping them reclaim their power and sexual sovereignty from unhealthy relationships, which is what we all need. Part of her mission is to support masculine-minded women reconnect with their feminine energy through sensuality and pleasure. Hanna is known for combining the dynamics of sensuality, spirituality, and sexuality in her work. She believes that when you are living a turned-on life, you are living a life closer to your higher power. We are with you on all of that.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So, we met a few years ago, and I want you to share, because you shared with me, but now our listeners can hear how you came onto this path, what triggered you, what was in your soul, what was calling you that you entered this path, because it's a very vulnerable, deep, emotional, a path that's needed and can be scary at times.
Yes, absolutely. I would say, looking back at the last, let's say, even 3 to 6 years of my life, the first things that are coming through are wanting and craving this deeper connection when I was in partnership with people, feeling like a lot of men couldn't meet me intimately. And I felt like I didn't have my voice. I didn't know how to communicate my desires. I didn't know how to speak my truth. And in most aspects of my life as well. And so, my spiritual path started about 8 years ago. And then just as I discovered more and more about what was possible for me and my soul, I realized that I felt like I was missing out on a lot. And I wanted more depth. I wanted meaning out of every aspect of my life. And so that's how I kind of started feeling gravitated towards Tantra. And I was like, ooh, what's this? Like, I really just felt this kind of pull towards that world.
And how did you enter?
How did you
enter into the world?
I would say one of my first workshops was with Marc. And yeah. So it was, I saw the flyer and something, I'd heard of the name a couple times, didn't really know what it was about that much, but again, I knew that it was calling me. I was like, I felt like there was a soul recognition of the term. Like, I really believe that it is in my lineage, for myself. So went to the workshop and it just felt like it was kind of that up level to all the work that I was already doing on myself. It brought it deeper. It brought my emotions deeper. It allowed me to open my heart more and get more vulnerable with my deep desires and really clearing like the shame and guilt that I felt around my personal pleasure for so many years.
There's been some workshops.
It was actually the participants were amazing on top. There was a lot of amazing women in that workshop, including you, that were really open to allowing themselves to be vulnerable and really explore and open to that, the connection and that deeper place. I'm so happy that, first of all, that you had that reaction to it and that it opened up you to your path. And hopefully in the future, we'll do something together.
Yes, absolutely.
We keep talking about it. We'll get there one of these days.
Yes,
when the energy were right.
I've been looking forward to asking you, and I follow you on social media, and your posts are extraordinarily vulnerable and very revealing. And it's a space that I continue to step into, and I'm probably more than double your age. So I'd like if you could separate for me and our audience sensuality, sexuality, how you have those distinctions so that everyone else can have them when they're listening?
Yes. Amazing question. And this is a question that I do get asked from time to time. So to me, how I have sensuality, it is all about activating your senses. So sensuality, for example, like to me, I can eat my food in a very sensual way and, connect with the textures and the tastes and have this slow motion experience while I'm eating, a mango or ice cream or even anything. To me, that is a very sensual experience. Sensual can also be, my movements. I'm a dancer as well. To me, that is it. It's it activates and awaken my sense of self, even touching myself, right? So to me, it's more about the senses. And then when it comes to sexuality, where I feel like it transitions, I believe that sensuality can be kind of a gateway into sexuality. But I believe that, for example, I experience sensuality with my girlfriends that I feel safe with, right? We caress each other's skin, play with each other's hair. But I don't have a sexual connection with them. So to me, that really has to do with a certain type of energy that you feel in your body, and also actual genital connection and genital touch.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Thank you for the clarity and distinctions there. That was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the sensual. I need some more sensuality. That's great. That's really, the way just you're talking about eating and touching and just
Very alive. I started even thinking of I don't even eat mangoes, and I had this vision of myself eating a mango and the experience, right? The flavor, the juiciness, literally, that comes from fruit, the touch, the tactile experience, even in our hands as we embrace and eat from our fingers or something like that. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, wow. I'm very excited about what we're going to ask our audience later.
Absolutely.
I've heard about doing it in life. So I do it in my visions every day. I envision being on the beach and having a beach house on an island and eating the food. But to bring it into real life all the time is very different than visualizing. I'm not saying anything wrong with visualizing, but the way you were presenting, it's thank you for that inspiration.
Can I follow up that? So if you were to give, I'm saying 3 tips, 5 tips, however that looks like, to our audience about how to nurture that, how to embody that sensual living, well, you have some things that you can share with us?
Yes. The word presence comes to mind. Being so intimately present with your surroundings. To me, that activates my sensual essence and sensual nature. Even, going outside to me and putting my face in the sun and taking a huge breath and being so present to the breath, that is almost like a sensual experience to me. And that might be more personal. And then it actually, bringing it into the body, feeling the sun activate every particle, every, one of your cells. So I'd say that's one thing that comes to mind. And then definitely moving into your hips and allowing an energy to kind of take you over, releasing the mind and really coming deeper into the body. That's definitely my sensual expression. I feel like it definitely connects with my spiritual practice. When I don't tap into my sensuality, I actually feel a disconnect to self. So I'd say, getting outside, being so present to your surroundings, breathing in the sun, getting more into your hips. So a lot of hip movement, side to side, and then being present to senses. So like I said, eating foods with intention and mindfulness, and then buying yourself flowers and breathing in the rose and really feeling that essence kind of take you over.
All right, that's 3 really strong tips. Really brought that to life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm actually turned on, and I don't mean sexual. I feel turned on to life right now.
Yeah.
It's an energy surge.
Exactly.
Oh, that's part
Very
of your
much.
gift. Wow, I can feel your gift. It's
And for people who have the gift of following Hanna on social media, you post into that. And I have to tell you, and you write beautifully, and hearing your words to it have brought me to a different level of connection with your material. Because I've seen you're very much on the beach. You often speak of taking breaks between, your coaching clients and taking in Mother Earth.
Yes.
And to hear you speak into it, it added a whole nother dimension for me as a follower. So thank you. Really.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
My pleasure.
woo-hoo. What I wanted to bring up now is, part of your work and the workshops you offer, and you work with women a lot. I know you work with men and women, but you talk about sexual sovereignty. And I really want to understand how you define sexual sovereignty and what it means.
Yes. Okay. So I would say there's so many layers, and the first thing that is coming to mind, is coming through, is that you don't owe your body to anybody. And if you break the two apart, right? So sovereignty to me is a lot about freedom, and also that you own yourself, nobody owns you. So a lot of women will come to me, and a couple of my clients right now are coming out of 18-year marriages, and they realize that they never put their pleasure first. They felt like it was always for their partner. They didn't know how to communicate, and they weren't fulfilled in a, sensual, sexual, intimate manner for so long. So to me, sexual sovereignty is about really taking your pleasure into your own hands, learning how to connect with your body on an intimate level, on a sexual level, and then knowing how to communicate that to your partner, and really setting clear boundaries, especially in the beginning of a dynamic or relationship, about how you can feel most safe in your body when you become sexually intimate with another person. So I'd say that's a little bit of it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, because I've been curious about that word since I read your bio. I was like, sovereignty, an interesting connection of the two, but I'm hearing that ownership, that the claiming, self-claiming. And
yes,
and you spoke earlier about being also using Tantra. Is that one of the methods? Like, how do you help or facilitate that that claiming for your clients?
Can I just add before you answer that, because I love that question. So in that question, how do you create the safe space? How do you bring it to everything Claudine said with that safe space? How do you bring it to women? How do you bring that sovereignty, that empowerment, that ownership that she was talking about?
Yes. Okay. So I would say the process that I kind of take my clients through, and what I'm taking this group of women through right now with my first online course that I have, is first really coming clean with your sexual past. So I believe this is a really important aspect of anyone's journey, really, to fully forgive yourself from anything from the past, because I can't tell you how many women come to me and tell me the amount of times they've had a sexual experience with a person when they really didn't want to, and they didn't know how to say no. It's like their throat closed up. Almost every woman I've ever spoken to, it's like, they're like, I'm in my power, but for some reason, my throat closes up and I literally couldn't say no. So it's really fully forgiving the past. And then I take them through some deep womb work process to fully clear the womb of ex-lovers, because I believe that when you are intimate with someone and someone has been inside of you, that they do leave an imprint in your womb. And so I do some deep womb work, and I also am an energy healer. So I do some energetic clearings in the womb as well, so that they can be fully free of any hooks, cords, attachments that might be happening with ex-lovers, that is preventing them or stopping them from being in their full entire power in every level. So that's kind of the first process that I take them through. And then I do something called yoni de-armoring, which is basically using a special tool to do a self-massage on yourself on the internal walls of a woman's vulva, which can really release some deep trauma that might be stored in there.
Wow.
This is intimate work. Intimate healing. Yeah. I'm hearing lots of healing and releasing. Wow. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling the vulnerability of it. And earlier you said boundaries, and I'm feeling that too, because this vulnerability and this safety and what you're doing, you need boundaries. Because I'll share from my own experiences. I've seen in the Tantra and sexual world that they're using sexuality going over boundaries all the time. There's power plays, there's playing into sexuality, and it's not really clear, it's not defined, there's not boundaries, you want to call it abuse, whatever. It's not clean. And but what I hear you saying is it really needs to be clean and have boundaries that are really clear, and have a voice
100.
around that.
Yes, 1,000,000%. That is so huge. And like, I am extremely passionate about such high integrity with this work, because I have also experienced myself the distortions of the Tantra sacred sexuality world. And I've had to really go through my own process around discernment with that. And it wasn't fun. So I believe that it is definitely part of my mission to make sure that there is such deep safety when it comes to being a guide for anyone in this world. Both me as the guide and of course them as the client, and integrity and a clean energy, and making sure that my client feels very held in this, because this is such deep work,
And you know, I'm also a coach and a psychotherapist, and I know for me, I know that I ground before anytime I have the honor of working with somebody. I feel like that's really important for me, and to set the context for my clients.
Yes.
Do you have a particular practice that you feel serves you, or is it different every time, the same? Just kind of curious.
Yeah, I definitely say a little prayer, just asking to be connected to like my highest wisdom, truth, and heart. I fully connect with source, asking, God, Goddess to come through me, putting my ego aside so I can really connect with my client's highest essence and what they need to hear in a specific session.
Thank you.
Something like that.
Yeah, when you're that space, you create that space for others, right?
Absolutely.
With your highest intentions. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I've come from a corporate / government background. For 29 years, I was in child welfare. And by nature, I'll say, but I read in your bio, right, that masculine driven woman. And I would say that's really still been my breakthrough. I think the first time we met was probably in Sacred Feminine.
Yeah.
And it was a very intentional reason I took that class, right? I've been in the community for a while, but it was like I made a commitment to intentionally, I still am in that space of still discovering and owning my feminine side. So it perked my ears, because I feel like a lot of women have that energy and that drive to accomplish, produce, which is gorgeous. I'm not against that, right?
Yes.
And that masculine energy doesn't allow space for surrender, attending to, honoring, receiving. And, I'm just kind of curious what called you into that. Is that a space that you have seen yourself and you intentionally shifted in, or are you just identifying, right, that you see it all around you? I'm just kind of curious how you tuned in, because it's such a needed area right now.
For sure. I would say there was definitely a time where I was teaching a lot of yoga classes, and I kind of had a little bit of a burnout process. I went through a burnout phase, and I was like, this isn't sustainable. And so I would say there was a little bit of that for me, but I would say it's more so the clients that were coming to me. I saw a theme of just that, such hardcore overworking, not like a lot of women just like didn't know how to actually relax. Like relaxing for them felt terrifying. And so I realized that through sensuality and pleasure and different rituals and practices and really rewiring the paradigm around what it means to be in feminine leadership was so needed for many women.
Yes.
So that's kind of how it started.
Still is. And I work with a lot of those corporate women still. And I know when we talk about practices, I'm a believer in our daily practices create who we are in a lot of ways, right? If we're spending time in our mindfulness and connecting to ourselves and our source, then we have access.
Yeah.
And I often find some of my clients like, do it. Oh, it's done. Check. I did it. I did my meditation. Check. And it's like, you're very good, right? There's no report on how well you did and really getting them to even surrender into that level of self-care. Like you said, it's minutes and saying, no, you get to relax into it. This, you'll have more access to the energies that you're seeking for success by how they define it. Thank you for being that source for a lot of corporate women who certainly can succeed. And not even corporate. Let me take that out of the like you said, masculine driven women. That energy is very prominent. And I think back to the 80s, at the time, we were really looking at that word called life balance, that phrase. And it was when women could have everything, right? They could be at the work and they could be at home. And it was like, be a superwoman. But what was compromised for that? And I feel like that energy has certainly continued to be there, wanting to, and I'm thrilled people are looking to break the glass ceiling. And, what is being sacrificed to get there? And how to step back into, like you said, their sovereignty. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
I always define it as we have been living in a masculine world created from the masculine. Mm-hmm. And the shift, even for women, because they've joined the masculine world to be masculine, is that the new world to me is where we listen to the feminine and then act from there. So the masculine actually plays out or acts out from the feminine instead of the masculine. And so that even for women to come from that place, come from their feminine before they act, if the world was created from that place, it would be a very different place. The sensitivity, the empathy, the flow, the energy, the connection to earth and each other. So it's nice to hear that, and hopefully in your work and people's work, that shift is happening. Instead of the women going the masculine route, is that they start stepping into that feminine world and listening to that, and then have that propel their action to the world. So I'm happy you're doing the work. I just
love that.
I just want to, I'm going to be vulnerable right now. Because as you were speaking, I don't really talk about being in the Tantra world, really, to most people. My family knows, but I'm honoring you, and I'm speaking from my own vulnerability. It's a very vulnerable world. I work hands-on with people, especially women or couples, and I just wanted to put it out there because I don't put it out there. I do in the Facebook group when I teach or something, but I don't really put myself out there that I teach Tantra sometimes, that I work hands-on, and I just wanted to put it, some space that you created in me has opened that space to be vulnerable or to be more visible, because I'm not as visible as people think with that. I own a contracting management company. That's who I am. That's what I do. And there's a whole other side of Tantra and spirituality. So thank you for whatever space you created for that. I felt the energy moving in my body. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is vulnerable. Okay, I'll speak to it. So anyway, that's my piece. Right. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so honored that I could create that for you.
I'm actually sweating. Okay. Thank you for creating that.
There you go.
It's
Breakthrough right here on the podcast. And that is a beautiful
Yes,
gift.
I love it.
You're
Yeah.
working on me. Oh my God.
I love it so much. I mean, honestly, I love moments like this for so many reasons. And when I do have a male client who accesses that vulnerability, like it is absolutely priceless to me. I would say something that I quote unquote pride myself on is I actually really do know how to hold the masculine with such reverence and a strong space, which I feel it's taken me years to arrive here. And I'll share just a little personal note, like this new man that I've recently started dating someone, and the caliber of how we are holding each other energetically, physically, in all the ways is truly everything that I could have asked for. So thank you for that reminder that I do have that ability to hold the masculine as well.
Could you share with us how you've attracted, or maybe it's anyone, but since you're sharing about what's new in your world, how do you attract that ideal client, ideal partner as you have? What could others open up to, or what did you open up to on your journey that had this occur, the meeting of the souls?
I don't know whether to laugh or cry right now. I will share, honestly, it has been such deep, immense work on myself. And I think the whole energy of sexual sovereignty, and this was just my personal guidance. I'm not saying it will be like this for everyone, but through all the different types of relationships that I've had and different sexual experiences that I had, I got the clear guidance around 7 months ago or so. Like, it's time for you to fully, like, not open your energy to anyone, like not date at all right now, and consciously choose to be single entirely. And I chose it, and it brought up all of this, just so much emotional stuff, so much like this longing, so much of like, I just want to feel that love again. I want to feel someone's touch against me so freaking badly. I believe that it is in my soul contract on this planet to come into union with somebody, but I knew I had to do it within myself first. So I had to really harness and work on balancing my inner feminine and inner masculine in every aspect of my life. And there's not just like one process that I did. There was a multitude of practices and processes that I have done to connect with the soul and the essence of my divine partner. And I don't know if that is this man that's in my life right now, but I know for a fact the way that I feel when I'm in his space and the way that we activate each other in a way that like I have not experienced yet. I'm like, wow, this is the energy that I have been cultivating within my own body first. And now it's like, I feel like it's in its physical form. It's like, I'm almost in awe myself. And not to say that, things have come up. I mean, it's not even been a full month, but some triggers have come up, and the way that like we're able to communicate, that's been like a number one thing for me, is that open, honest, full, transparent communication is like core value in, a romantic partnership, that I am only available for a man who knows how to communicate. And I feel like this man knows how to communicate. And I'm like, thank you, God. Yes. So, again, if you like, for someone who's listening, it's like, oh my God, I want that so badly. One little nugget that I can share is writing your divine partner a love letter. This is an assignment that I give to some of my clients. So writing to your partner as if almost like they're already in your life. So writing kind of like in the present and really affirming all that you want to experience with your partner, like the qualities they bring, the qualities you bring, what the dynamic looks like, what the energy looks like, what you're not available for, and really getting like deep into like what you want to experience with your partner as if it's happening already.
Thank you for sharing some of your journey. That's some of your secret sauce there. How is that in balancing as you move into partnership with him? and that you are a Tantra healer. How do you both manage that work? That's your work. This is your profession work too. Yeah, how do you create the space for that, or how does he, as a couple, how do you both, create that space?
Such a good question. So it's funny because I had a few people ask me, like, are you embarrassed at all? Like, by sharing with him what you do? And I mean, before our first date, he found me on Instagram and looked me up. So, it's like, okay, you see what I do. This is who I am. And that was an issue in some past relationships as I was stepping into becoming a Tantra coach and a sacred sexuality, in the world. It was challenging for my partner about a year ago who I was dating. It was too much for him. And that's something that I definitely affirmed to myself. Like, I get to have a man who accepts me for who I am. He doesn't have to understand all of it, but he does celebrate me in my expression. And so that's a conversation that we had pretty early on. And I think what is so beautiful is everything that I have been teaching on and supporting, like, myself with and other women with, it's like I'm literally living that right now with this man. So I'm inviting him into the world of Tantra and bringing more sacredness and sensuality into our connection. And it's been such a beautiful, real practice of the embodiment of my work. And I've asked him, like, I'm very open and very expressive on my platform. I want to make sure that's okay with you because I am not holding myself back. And he was like, yes, like I'm okay with that.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So does that even mean,
good.
Like, do you ask for permission even to write about your relationship?
I did. Yeah. It was something that came up for me. I was like, wow, I'm noticing that I want to ask permission because I want to honor this person. I want to make sure it's okay with him and just see where he's at with it. Because that is going to tell me very clearly whether this relationship is going to continue or not, essentially.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
For both of you being a yes.
Yes. As we're diving deeper into relationship, there's a lot of people that are women, say, or a partner, want to explore their sensuality, their sexuality, and either run up against resistance in a partner or the fears, whatever comes up. So do you have any ideas or ways that you teach people? I know it's embodying yourself, but also how to help somebody in your relationship open up to it, or how you can do it together, however that looks. I was just wondering if you had, some nuggets there also, because that's, I've noticed in any coaching, any time, like, it's always the partner. There's one partner that might have resistance, and it's how do you bring it together? How do you bring them along? How do you open up to that space together?
Great question. So it's being the loving, gentle, soft invitation as the feminine. So it's the energy and the intention of why you want to invite your partner into that deeper space with you. And then it's really learning how to communicate from that place of love and simply saying, like, I want to explore our connection in a deeper capacity. And, I heard about this. I'm curious about this. Are you open to explore that realm with me? And just seeing how they feel about it. So it can be as simple as that, opening that conversation. And it really depends. I've had some clients, their partners said they were open. What I see a lot is, for some reason, there are men who aren't able to open their hearts as much as as the woman would want them to. And the vulnerability aspect is a big disconnect for the masculine. And I see men that are working on it a lot. So to me, it's definitely about the willingness on both sides to to try things on in a different light and try on like, okay, like we've been, dating for 2 years, and one of my clients, I just kind of gave her like an assignment to create like this tantric evening with her partner with candles and roses and fruits and, just some fun, playful things. And her partner was open to it, but she was like, I feel like he didn't really get it. So I would say there's definitely like open communication that gets to happen, and a desire on both sides is important too. That makes sense.
Yes.
Sure. Do you coach couples?
I have not coached couples yet, actually. It's something that I definitely see in the future. It just hasn't been fully in alignment just yet. But for friends, like I would say, like there have been friends that I've supported a little bit here and there, but I haven't actually taken on like a couple fully yet.
Okay.
But I know I could do it.
I
feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. I see for couples, I definitely see more of like a starting off with maybe like a deep dive VIP weekend, something like that, or like a full on day, rather than, and then, probably would progress from there. But I think in person for couples is what I'm sensing for myself.
Great. I'm thrilled to be witness to your expansion and the next offering for you.
Thank you.
Which we will share later.
So here's a curiosity question. Do you have would anything shift in your approach if you were working with a gay couple?
Great question. I would say the only thing that would shift would be, I refer to obviously the inner feminine and inner masculine. So whichever couple takes on the role, like, let's say I'm working with 2 females, I would ask them, okay, which one of you feel like you are more, predominantly in your masculine energy? And then I would kind of work with it from there. So that would be a new territory for me, but something I'd be excited to take on.
Sure. I had heard once a good friend of mine had said that, in a good, when I say good, all right, let me rephrase it. In a healthy sexual relationship, it's important to have the polarity of energies. Is that something you would agree with, or what's your feelings about that? It doesn't mean like, oh, sorry, you're in the feminine, so you must stay there. Like, it's not about the closeting, but when it comes to the sexual, intercourse of the energies, do you feel like it's most optimal to have the dominant energies so they can become union?
I would say yes, absolutely. For the feminine energy, it's so much about, that deep surrender and getting out of the mind and dropping deep into the body, which is still a practice for me sometimes. Sometimes just the mind will creep in, and then it's having the masculine really, take that leadership and kind of energetically being like, I've got you, and let me help you drop deeper into your body. And I'll share a little more vulnerability as if I haven't been enough vulnerability here. But when I was, as I was single pretty much the last past year up until recently, in what I call my self-pleasure practice, which most people know as masturbation, but I call it self-pleasure. This is a really good nugget, actually. So something that I recently kind of invited my clients into is if a woman is feeling like that laziness, unmotivated, disconnected, resistance to her own pleasure practice, is to resurrect and really activate her inner masculine within her and have this dialogue in her mind between her inner feminine and inner masculine, where the inner masculine is like, no, you're going to spend the next 30 minutes and massage your breasts. So it's kind of like, I haven't had that man for so long. So I had to awaken that within myself. And it was such an interesting process and practice that I took myself through. And now it's really cool that like, I actually have the physical embodiment of him.
Sure. I love that idea. Oh my God. That is, I've never even considered it that way. I mean, certainly it's the unifying of our own energies, but I've never thought about having one coach the other within us, right?
It's better than the monkey mind just
Yeah.
jumping around all over.
Sure is. Yeah.
The man and woman talking. Yeah. Wow, I like that. I really like that image of doing that.
It's different. It's definitely, it's different. It kind of felt a little weird at first, but I will tell you, I mean, there are many times where I'm just like, I felt lazy and I was like, you know, I just so wish there was another, you know, body against mine. And so I had to learn practices because resistance comes up a lot for women on their self-pleasure. I get it all the time. Like I feel resistant. I feel lazy. I feel unmotivated. How do I pass through that? And that tactic alone has helped me so much.
Thank you.
You know, we passed it up earlier, but we like to do a challenge for our listeners. And I think this one would be some kind of sensual movement. So we're calling all listeners out there. This is your challenge. You put it on Instagram, put it on one of our, you know, the BTO podcast. We're everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Is share or put a video or a picture of you in your sensual movement. And maybe you could just give us one way of sensual. I know you said move your hips, but maybe there's another sensual movement that you could share with us that people could do or challenge themselves to move into, just like you challenge people to move into all their practices.
Yes.
Or should we all get up and
do the embodiment?
I would say two things coming to mind. Buy yourself flowers and take the rose and just like trickle the rose all over your body, and just put on some nice music for yourself. And just having that, to me, that is the start of a great segue into deeper sensuality and, you know, deepening your own personal pleasure. So taking the rose, trickling it all over your body. And then for actual, like, you know, embodiment and movement, I don't want it to be structured. So I feel like, honestly, the best nugget I can give is having your body guide you intuitively. And as you're dancing, maybe, you know, you bring your hands across your leg and like glaze your hands over your leg, and just allowance and releasing the monkey mind to have the music move through your body intuitively.
Here's a vulnerability act for men.
Yes.
Women too.
Right? Everybody hearing that? I mean, you've spoken into sensuality, but you really just gave another two real tools and ways of attuning ourselves to that sensuality. So that's the challenge here is, right, move into your sensuality, post it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at the PTO podcast, tag and like us. However that looks, if it's a picture, maybe it's a few words, we'll take that. But I'm hearing about the rose, and I was thinking about what you had said earlier about even the use of fruit or the texture, things like that. Fruit was me. I'm now just substituting in there. Yeah. But okay, so the rose, and I also understand because you do often have flowers, and particularly red roses. Right? Now we're talking. Connects your posts.
I do my best to buy myself flowers every couple of weeks. Sometimes I get, I'm in a better rhythm. Sometimes I forget, or if I'm going to be traveling. But there's something really special about buying myself. I can't really describe it. The rose is just watching it blossom and bloom and connecting with the senses and, pressing it on my body and then putting the rose petals in my bath. A bath can be another amazing way to tap into your sensual essence.
Mm-hmm.
And just know, everybody, that both of us are going to do the challenges too. So I'll model it for the men.
Yay!
Are you going to post that for the PTO podcast?
I'm going to be vulnerable.
Okay.
I'll step in always.
Please tag me too.
Yes.
We will.
We definitely will.
Thank you for sharing that.
So you mentioned classes. So we've spoken about your coaching, And so you're also doing a class.
Yes. So I'm doing, I would say more like an online course right now. It's a 3-month course called Sexual Sovereignty. And it's basically everything that I've been talking about today, what I've been working with women one-on-one, and then realizing like, I want to bring women in a group together to go through this journey together. Because it can be just that more powerful, knowing that, you're not alone. And I would say it's for women who want to reclaim their sexual power and know that, there's just this next level for them of deeper healing and coming into their, full feminine embodiment. So I would say that's the online course that I've been teaching. And then I did a workshop a couple months ago in person called Unleash Your Feminine Power. And I'm hoping to do one again next month. That will be in person in South Florida.
And that is one day, a few hours?
Yeah, it's just it's less. It's like, it was a, let's see, 2.5 hour thing. We're going to extend it a little longer. It's maybe 3 or 4 hours. And then I would say in the future, I definitely see in the next, 6 months or so, creating, first like a mini weekend retreat and then extending it to even further. And then way down the line, I want to have my own like embodiment facilitator training. So I teach other women to bring this work out as well.
Wow, beautiful vision. So needed. Thank you.
I like that vision.
Thank you.
Yeah, same here. Oh.
I was going to ask you, what do you see in the future? But you already answered. You really laid out the vision pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Where can... Go ahead.
I was just going to say one last thing that I've been calling in is, having a partner by my side that is also wanting to create together, a possibility of creating some type of work together. We both have our separate things, but then bringing some form of offering together. And that's a conversation that's already been in motion with this new partner, which is really awesome. So whether we support couples together, I don't know exactly what it looks like yet, but we're very aligned with a lot of our values and a lot of our purpose here, which is, I just feel super grateful and blessed. I like sharing that.
I'm so happy for you. I really am. I've watched your journey. I know Hanna for a few years, and I'm watching your journey and your blossoming. It's just beautiful. And that all the work and energy you've put into yourself is really paying off and mirroring back to you your beauty and your feminine and your vulnerability and your truth and who you are, who you really are. Your essence.
Thank you so much.
I got to tell you, I'm smiling, and for all those reasons. And I would say, and we have her in South Florida.
Yeah, lucky you.
Since I moved to Florida 2 years ago, I have been in search of someone, and I get to surrender and enroll. So I declare that I get enroll in your next class, because that's we had practices and more. I'd say more possibilities in the north, and I have gone to some classes in the south, and it just didn't energetically. The facilitators. Yeah, I love them, appreciate what they're doing. It just didn't, energetically didn't flow. So I'm thrilled we have Hanna in Florida.
Good, I'll hold you. One accountability, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're going to step into our fast fire questions. We always do at the end, quick fire, fast fire at the end of the podcast. So we're just going to 4 or 5 questions, and you just give us whatever comes to you.
Okay, great.
So the first one I'm going to ask you is, what brings you joy? What brings you like that, just that inside core joy in your body?
Dancing, kissing, giggling with my soul sisters, and swimming in the ocean.
I could relate to the ocean. Oh gosh, my favorite place to be.
Oh, I thought you were going to do them all. No problem.
I
okay.
My sis.
All right. If you can complete this sentence. God to me means.
Trust, surrender, love.
Let me take that in for a second. That's really surrender, love. Oh, gosh. It's funny. We have a lot of questions, but you answered so many of them. It really, I'm looking at them. Going,
I'll do the quick fire. Hold on a second. What do you see as your legacy? What do you want to be known for, Hanna, in this world?
Resurrecting the authentic divine feminine codes on this planet.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one. All right. So who is the person or what has influenced you the most in creating who you are now and why?
Shit. Wow. Honestly, what's coming to mind is one of my, it's like, the thing is, a couple mentors are coming to mind, and then a couple people that like broke me, essentially, quote unquote, Ashay Sandara, and then a past lover that where I kind of lost myself and then refound myself.
Okay.
That's really good for people because that happens to most people. It really does, where we lose ourselves, and hopefully we get ourselves back to a real authentic place and not just move through and not really look at what happened and what what's internally going on. So that's ooh.
What book are you reading right now?
Oh my God, it's so funny. I know the listeners can't see this, but it's a book called Pussy.
Pussy Recollection.
It's called Pussy, A Reclamation. This actually, I've already read this, but my roommate gave it to me so I could take some notes. The other book is called Finding God Through Sex by David Deida.
Love his books.
Oh.
Way of the Superior Man.
I know him.
Sex. I have a few.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff.
It's great.
Last question. How do you define love?
Purity. Like a soft serenity, all-encompassing, magnetic force, unconditionally healing.
Wow, you really have embodied yourself. Because when you speak, you just feel it inside. It just, I don't know.
Wow.
Like, this is great. It's so good to have you.
Yes.
You want to share with us where people can reach you, how to get in touch if they're interested in your classes, working in the sovereign feminine?
Definitely. The best way I would say is on Instagram or Facebook. So Facebook, my name is Hanna Dylan, Hanna Dylan. And then Instagram is at Hanna_Dylan_. So maybe we can put that somewhere as well. My website is hannadylan.com. It is under construction right now, but it should be done in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And those are the best ways to get in touch with me. I check my DMs pretty regularly. I have an assistant now who supports me with that, which is amazing. So reach out, connect with me. Let me know how this podcast interview resonated with you. I'd love to connect with anyone in any capacity.
Thank you.
Oh, they will.
Yes, I agree. Any last words of wisdom that you would like to share, offer, provide?
Okay, let me tune in for just a moment. I would say that trust that you have listened to this interview, this conversation for a reason. Trust in your own path, that where you are right now is absolutely perfect for your journey and the lessons that you're here for. And no matter what you have been through up until this very moment, the heartache, the loss, the suffering in any capacity, when you give everything over to a higher power, whether it's God, spirit, the universe, what you believe in, I can tell you from personal experience that as I continued to do that over and over and over again, when I was brought to my knees at some of the darkest times of my life, I always found light at the end of the tunnel. And I allowed myself to break and cry and feel the deepest pain. And I continued to rebirth myself time and time again. And I believe that is why I've been able to, be on this, in this conversation with two amazing souls, and why I've been able to love so deeply and so passionately in the world and be of service to this world is because I chose to feel my pain to then allow so much joy, love, and grace come into my life.
Amen.
Amen. That's right.
Thank you. Wow. I am very grateful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom today. Yes, if you like this conversation, yes, right.
I like this conversation.
Hanna Dylan on Facebook, hannadylan.com. Soon to be open in for business that way, but certainly other ways to contact you. And I would like to thank you for being here, and I thank everyone who's listening to Beyond the Ordinary today, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode and in a deep dive of sovereignty. Thank you for claiming yourself, and I heard you say, right, clear the space through forgiveness so that you can come back home to rebirth yourself. And yes. Also your wisdom around sensuality and presence and movement, sense and touch. That really also stood out for us today. So thank you for all of that. And yes, if you would like to support this podcast, please share it with others and post about it on social media. Leave a rating, review, and to catch us on the latest, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn at the BTO Podcast. Thank you again until we see you next time. And Hanna, it was an honor today. Very much so.
Don't forget your challenges. Be sensual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo.